Hi, everyone. Welcome to this webinar on DataMaestro, Data Orchestration Reimagined. A little bit about me. My name's Andrew Chavis. I'm the Director of Product Management here at Revelwood. My background, I've had over 20 years implementing TM1 and planning analytics solutions. A lot of experience with the pain points that come along with owning and operating a TM1 planning analytics model. And I joined Revelwood back in March to oversee DataMaestro, to guide the direction of the product and to get it out to market. A little bit about Revelwood. We've been helping financial professionals for over 25 years in the TM1 space. Revelwood Labs has been developing tools to enhance TM1 and planning analytics for almost as long. And in fact, actually an early predecessor to DataMaestro called Data Control was actually licensed and distributed by Applix. For those of you who know what Applix is, that was the company that owned TM1 before it was acquired by IBM. So some of you may recognize this. This is a TurboIntegrator script, or a portion of one. Most developers that I've worked with over the years love TurboIntegrator. It's a very powerful, flexible tool, and really, as scripting languages go, it's actually somewhat simple. However, most TM1 and planning analytics admins are not developers. They don't have computer science degrees. They have accounting degrees. They have finance degrees. They're finance people. TurboIntegrator was not built for finance users, and really many admins get overwhelmed by the scripting language and by TurboIntegrator. And out in the marketplace, competition to planning analytics uses the FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt around TurboIntegrator to scare prospects about the difficulty of maintaining a system. And listen, to be honest, they've got a point, because again, TI was made for developers, not administrators. Really, which is why we created DataMaestro. It's an intuitive data orchestration platform to orchestrate your TM1 and planning analytics data moves with no TI scripting or coding, all in minutes from a simple web interface. So what do we mean by a data orchestration platform? Well, at its core, DataMaestro is a tool that enables admins to perform data manipulation tasks within their TM1 and planning analytics models without the need for TurboIntegrator programming. It allows the admin to copy or move or clear and even export data from a single cube or from multiple cubes at one time. But it's actually a lot more. You can group jobs, or what we call tasks, together and run them on a schedule. There's detailed logging that's easily accessible right from the tool, and email alerts are automatically sent when a job is complete. It is not intended to replace TurboIntegrator. TI is a very, very powerful tool, and there's a lot of functionality that belongs in TurboIntegrator. But you can manage your DataMaestro tasks and your TI processes directly from the DataMaestro interface and take advantage of the built-in logging and messaging features. We have one of our clients who uses DataMaestro exclusively for that. They run all of their TurboIntegrator processes through DataMaestro specifically for the email alerting, which we'll see in a bit, and for the logging that's there. So let's talk about some use cases, right? Well, versioning in the planning cycle, seeding a budget, creating monthly forecasts, that's sort of very typical things that are done in a planning process. You can snapshot data. You can freeze the current copy of your forecast to present to management, and et cetera. You can extract data to load to external systems. Simply create flat files when no ADBC connection is available. Great what-if scenarios. Sandboxing in planning analytics is a powerful feature, but it's not widely used because it's a little more complex than it could be. Updates to business structures, right? If you hire a new salesperson and you want to move some sales targets from an old area to the new person, you can add that right in DataMaestro. and it keeps records of data movements for auditing. You can leverage the messaging feature to keep a detailed list of every time a job was run and the result. So the benefits we're seeing that we're hearing from our customers, it's saving them time, right? It's saving them time and effort by not having to write complex TurboIntegrator code to perform simple tasks. It saves effort and frustration over searching through TM1 message logs and knowing when jobs have been completed and finding errors and seeing what worked and what didn't. But the overall theme really is that it gives the admins a greater comfort level than they can own their system without relying heavily on outside consultants or feeling overwhelmed by TurboIntegrator. And before we jump into a quick demo, here's a quote from one of our customers, an experienced TM1 administrator, who says he wishes DataMaestro was available years ago because of how much easier his job has become. So with that, let's take a look at the product in action. So what I have here is a dashboard that was created in PAW, Planning Analytics Workspace. This works equally as well with older versions of TM1, perspectives in Excel, but here I have a workspace dashboard. And what we're looking at here is we have three separate cubes. We have a finance detail cube, we have a finance summary cube, and we have a plan sales cube. Each of these cubes have their own dimensionality. There's no, each is unique in their dimensionality. They, of course, share dimensions, but they have different dimensionality. And the data we're looking at is we have our current forecast, our working forecast, and the January snapshot in each of these cubes. So let's imagine now that we're the TM1 administrator and it's time to close February, and we are being tasked with creating the February snapshot, how the forecast looks at the end of the month, so that we can start planning, working on March. So as you know, those of you who are familiar with this might realize that, okay, I would need to have three separate TurboIntegrator processes, one for each cube. Right? The TurboIntegrator generally works within a specific cube as a data source. So I could go and create three separate TI processes to do this. And for those of you who are familiar with that, they kind of look, we know what the TurboIntegrator code looks like, and you're building views and subsets, and there's always a risk of errors, and the logging is not really there. So it's even experienced TM1 developers, this would take some time to do this, but someone who's not very experienced with TurboIntegrator might be overwhelmed by this. They might feel the need to call outside TM1 consultants to come and help them write these. So let's see if DataMaestro can help us out. So I'm going to pop over to my DataMaestro screen, and this is the interface for DataMaestro. It's everything's through a browser, and first thing we see on the left is we have a menu item here. Some of these are administrative functions, but we're going to worry about tasks and packages today. So we're on our task screen right now, and a task is somewhat analogous to a TurboIntegrator process, in the sense that a task will perform a particular function. And in this case, a task is going to perform a function of we're going to copy data. So let's see how easy it is to create a DataMaestro task. And I'm going to create a new one here. So here's the information that DataMaestro is going to request from us. Well, the first thing it wants to know is what type of task we're going to create. We can have a copy task where we're going to copy data. We can move data, which means it will clear out the source. It'll take some data, move it to an area and source. Or you can just zero out. You can just zero out an area of your cube if you want to. Here, we're being tasked with copying data from forecasts into a new snapshot. The next thing it wants to know is our source data. If you're building a TI process, that's where you start. You have to tell TM1 where you're going to copy data from, what data you want to work with. Same idea here. But the first thing it asks me here is my source type. And if I click my drop down, right, I see I can source data from a single cube, which is how how TurboIntegrator works, right? I'm going to start with a cube and I'm going to work with that. But let's click my drop down because I have a lot of cubes. I have a lot of data I want to move. Let me click this drop down and I see that multiple cubes is one of my choices here. The next thing it asks me is a multiply factor. Do I want to adjust these numbers at all? Do I want to add 5%? Do I want to decrease something by 10%? Well, no, here we just want to do a straight copy. So I'm going to leave my multiply factor at 1. So now that I've told DataMaestro that I want to work with multiple cubes, I'm going to come down to my next section. And you'll notice it's not asking me about cubes, it's asking me about dimensions. Well, why is that? Well, because I'm going to add a dimension here, and I'm going to tell DataMaestro that I want to work with my version dimension because I want to copy data within my version dimension from my forecast to somewhere else. And so my source is going to be from a version, and the element's going to be my forecast. And also here, maybe I only want to work with 2022. I don't need to do this for other years. So I'm going to add another dimension and say, all right, I just want to look at my time dimension. I'm going to select 2022, and I can find it here. I can come up and do a quick little search in the search bar and find the roll-up 2022. And it knows that it means I want to work with the N-level children beneath that. Okay, so I've defined the data I want to work with from the dimensions. DataMaestro now says, okay, I'm going to go through your model, and I have found 4 cubes that have both a plan version and a plan time dimension. So these are the cubes that I could potentially be working with. Well, if I jump back to my dashboard, I'm working with the finance detail, finance summary, and plan sales. So let's go back to DataMaestro. I see finance detail, finance summary, and plan sales. Finance history is here, but I don't need finance history. It's a historical data. It's there for archive purposes. So let's uncheck that. We could leave it checked if we wanted. There's probably no 2022 data in it, but here we're just going to ignore it. And these are the cubes I want to work with. So now we come back over to the right and say, we've defined what data we want to work with. Now, where do we want it to go? So the first thing it asks is, what do I want to do? Do I want to replace the target value, or do I want to accumulate? Maybe I want it to add to data that's already there. Here we're not. We're starting fresh. We're just going to replace what's there. And then I need to tell it what elements, where is it going to? Well, we're starting with the forecast, and well, 2022 is going to stay 2022, but we don't want to copy it to forecast. We want it to copy it to a new snapshot. So let's click here. And oh, look, I've got a roll up here for snapshots. And under here, I've got the Jan snapshot, but I'm being tasked with creating a Feb snapshot. Well, I could go back into TM1 Planning Analytics and create that, but I can actually create that right here. I'm going to create a child element of snapshots, and I'm going to call this my Feb snapshot. Say, okay. And now I'm going to tell DataMaestro that this is where I want to copy my data to. It's going to create it on the fly, and it's going to copy data there. So that's all I need to tell DataMaestro. Let me save this and call this my Web snapshot data copy. Maybe call this multi-cube. And the description is 3 cubes. Let me save that. I got a note up here saying it was saved successfully. Let's go back to my task screen. And here's my new task. Here it tells me a little information about it. It's a copy. Here's my description. Last modified by who and when. So I feel pretty confident. I'm just going to run this. Are you sure you want to run this? I say, okay. And it tells me it's been kicked off successfully. So what can I do? Well, let's go, while this is running, look at view history. And here I've got some information about this task. And I see I actually finished already. It completed successfully. When it was started, how long it took, who ran it. I've got all sorts of information about this, the details, sort of what made up this task, the the parameters I gave to DataMaestro. It's a copy task. There's our factor. Here's our source. Here's our target. So all sort of that definitive type information about this task. I've got detailed logs here, step by step, what's going on, how long everything took. So I have all sorts of information available to me right off the bat. And so since that's done already, I'm actually going to bounce over to my email and see that I've already gotten an email, right? DataMaestro has sent out an email to me as the administrator saying, hey, this task already finished, completed successfully. I can click there to kind of take you right into the DataMaestro screen to get more information about it. But that notification happens sort of automatically. Okay, so this is done and we've looked at the log, we've got an email. Let's see what happens. So let's go back to my dashboard. And there's my, I have my version selector up here. So I'm going to click and edit, say select all. And look, there's my new Feb snapshot that wasn't there. Let's add this over to my current set. That's apply and close. And there we go. So now we have our forecast numbers copied from forecast directly into Feb snapshot across multiple cubes with different dimensionality, and everything's there. My charts update, everything updates, and that's it. We're good to go. So that took it took me a few minutes to do that. I was going slow. I was explaining things I was going, but you could see where maybe that would take me a minute or two to actually create that, run that, and verify that my data has been copied over successfully. So next, let's take a look at packages. So tasks are an individual sort of unit of work, similar to a TI process. Packages are somewhat analogous to a chore in TurboIntegrator in the sense that it is a collection of tasks, and it's something that I can run in order. I can add tasks as needed. As you might imagine, I do this demo somewhat regularly. So I have a package here that says clear my forecast for these 3 cubes. And the nice thing here is I can look at the version, I can look at the history, and I can see when this was run. And I actually, look, I had a couple of fails here. I have some completed successfully. But I can see step by step what has happened, when it happened. I have all sorts of history here. When I select one, I can see when it was run and information about it. I've got details into each of the tasks that were there. So that can happen. Again, that insight into what happened with your package. The other thing you notice here is this is scheduled. So I have this scheduled to run every night at 8 o'clock in case I have forgotten to clear out my data. I know that every morning, my data will be fresh, my demo environment will be ready for me in the morning, and I'll click on the edit schedule here, and I'll see that this is when it was started. It's running daily. I have at 8:30 p.m. You can set things to run, schedule something just you want it to run once overnight, hourly, daily, weekly, monthly. Maybe a weekly thing might make sense if you want a job package to run Sunday nights to maybe refresh a system. That's the sort of thing that we can do. The other nice thing is that we can, I think I mentioned earlier, you can actually add TI processes into your packages. So let me go into this example, and let's edit this package. And I can see that I've got a TI process called copy to budget. I've got a DataMaestro task called the multi-cube copy. And then maybe I have an allocations process. Allocations are the sort of thing that belong in TurboIntegrator. They're complicated steps. You have a lot of flexibility, a lot of power in TurboIntegrator, and allocations are the sort of thing that belong in TurboIntegrator. But we could set up a situation where we're going to do the data copy, the simple data copies, right, in DataMaestro tasks, run your data copies, and then run the allocations process after that's done. Now, why would you do that? I think, as I mentioned, the logging that's available is not inherently easy one in Planning Analytics. The logging, the alerting, everything makes life easier for the administrator. And as I mentioned, we do have a customer that's all they do. They create packages, they fill their packages up with existing TI processes, and me personally, that it just makes his life so much easier because of the alerting that people don't. He gets less phone calls. Hey, is my job done yet? Is my job done yet? Is my job done yet? And he can say, well, no, don't worry about it. You'll get an email when it's done. He has to run audit reports on a quarterly basis. He used to have to go and provide auditors a list of all the data movement TI processes that had run over the past quarter, and how did he know they were successful and who ran them. And he said it used to take him a day or two to sort of compile all that and looking through TM1's log files. He said, now I just go into my email folder and I package up the emails that I've gotten over the past 3 months, package them up and ship them off right to the auditor. And now it takes me 5 minutes. It used to take me 2 days. And actually in the next release that's coming out within the next few weeks, we've added a feature to sort of create look at these log files and create a PDF, create an audit report of all the jobs, all the tasks, all the processes that have run over a certain time period. You can sort and filter and limit the amount of time. Let me see all the processes that have run, all the tasks that have run between these dates. Show me all these sorted, click a button, export these to PDF. And now you've got a PDF file that says, okay, here's everything that's run. And if you're running everything through DataMaestro, then you know that's a sort of complete list of all your data movements. That's coming out very, very soon in the next release. If anyone is interested in seeing that, I'd be happy to show you in a subsequent phone call. All right. Well, let's go back to my PowerPoint here and see if you have any questions. I know I've thrown a lot at you there in the past 10-15 minutes. And feel free to send something in the chat or the questions. Give you a minute to type something out. Okay. Oh, here we go. Is this a new product? No, it's not new. It's been actually out since early 2021. Until recently, it was only available to Revelwood clients. But over the summer, we've opening up to the TM1 community at large, because we think that this can really be helpful to many people out there in the TM1 Planning Analytics world. Of about 20 to 25 customers with installed, again, all Revelwood customers up to this point. We're just recently started getting this out into the market for the wider audience. Okay. Any other questions? Yeah, something just came through. I'm not an IT person. For me, it was a little difficult to understand. May you give a summary of the product in 1 minute? All right, that's a challenge. So a summary of the product in 1 minute. DataMaestro allows the TM1 administrator to move and their data within their TM1 models without TurboIntegrator scripting, with no programming, no scripting languages, all from a very simple interface. I think that's as concise of a summary that I could do at the time. All right. Okay. If there's no other questions, I do want to mention that Revelwood will be having an upcoming webinar next month, the topic of how to use MDX in your IBM Planning Analytics environment. What is MDX, how to write the MDX statements, when to use it, MDX, if you're not familiar with it, MDX is a very, very powerful tool within TM1 PA. Creating dynamic subsets is very powerful, but it can be a little frightening to get started with. So if you're interested in learning more about that, I think this webinar next month will be very, very helpful. You can go to our website and look for events, and you'll see it there on September 14th. So listen, we'll be following up with I'll be following up with responses to any questions that I didn't get to if there's anything that comes through. In the meantime, please feel free to reach out to me directly at the phone or the email address here if you'd like to discuss anything further. If you'd like to see a demo of the brand new exporting the logs to create audit files, happy to show you that. It should be ready to show as early as next week. A representative from Revelwood will be following up with you over the next few days to schedule a quick 15-minute follow-up, just to make sure if there's anything you want to discuss. We can have a very quick call to answer any of the other questions you might have. And with that, I'd like to thank you for taking some time to look at DataMaestro with me today.